Hey, Dark Matter again, here with a Fallen V3 lightsaber for me. A couple of years ago, I had the V1, like the original one, with no damage. People were doing the damage themselves, like cutting and kind of bending it out, and I don't know. I didn't want to do all that. It didn't look quite right. Excuse me. And then the couple versions, later came out. Now they're damaged, sort of pre-damaged, which is great. This is not the Ogdo killer. This is I think the 89 Sabers version, which is fine with me. It does come as just a unpainted kit, although this is painted this kind of gunmetal color. But I did do all the damage and weathering. I had to strip the shrouds in this whole section with easy off. I had masked out all this section, but it stripped out this, the anodized that was inside there, so I had to mask and repaint those black. The handle section does come pre-cut like that. I didn't do any of that, which is really cool. The bottom of the saber pre-cut open like that, sort of exploded. Love it. The very end here, I did add some extra, wiring and stuff. One thing I also did, because most of these they're not solid, they're tubes. And I put some, you can see the end of it in a couple of these, some links of fiber optic. It was for a different idea. It didn't end up really working out. The way the chassis ended up, which I'll show you. But my original idea was to have these sort of glowing there at the tips, which I think would look pretty cool. Again, didn't work out for what I ended up going with, but that's okay. I just did a little bit of copper dry brushing up there on those parts. I wanted to leave the red stripes and the black on this, so I masked all that, from the easy off. And then I was able to use A14 on it, basically aluminum black, just A14 on these sections, and that turned out fantastic. I much prefer chemical weathering to just paint only, because this won't rub off ever. Not without sandpaper. So I'm running a Shtok V3 right there. And there is a chassis section here, so this is where I come to the point where I had this completely installed with a widely available chassis online. I can't remember where I got it, to be honest. Just a pre-made one. I had it all installed and slightly modified to shine a pixel down the bottom, and but one thing I really wanted was to be able to illuminate this damage, like the whole inner core was exposed, not just the bottom. And I don't have the chassis anymore, I actually tossed it, but I ended up kind of modifying it for reach over here. I ended up modifying it for a couple of these here and there, just individual pixels, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be better if I could, and I'm digging in the supplies again, wouldn't it be better if I could actually use some strips, some smaller strips? But by the time I had all these great ideas and the chassis was kind of barely just hanging on, so I contacted Stephen Powell at Powell's Powerups, and I said, hey, do you happen to make a chassis for this saber? He said no, but if you send it to me. So we got to talking about what I was looking for, and he came up with a fantastic idea. So what we ended up with, it's not in there right now. I'm just going to show you so it's a removable chassis with a fixed front end. So it's just the pixel connector and the switches. pretty common nowadays. And there's some screws underneath these that hold that, and they also hold this ring down. So, but for the back half, we came up with this. Everything's just kind of held here in a nice compact way. There's room for a kill switch. There's room for an Illumicore crystal, which helps shine light through these bottom holes, which is better than just shining a pixel straight down, because when I did that, I was getting a little bit of shine through on the fiber optic, but not terribly much through these. And I wanted to, you know, I don't know, it was just not really working. So I came up with this solution. Not the cleanest install I ever did, because I actually had to change Proffie boards. Where's the other one? The board that I originally put in there, something blew up on it. You can see that component right there on the end. It just burned right through. It's kaput. Or it doesn't really want to focus. So yeah, so that was lovely. So with the new board, everything works great. So there's only 3 blades. So the main blade, these side pieces, and then this is a separate one. This didn't need to be separate. I wasn't really sure which direction I wanted to go with it, so I just wired it independently. I had several ideas in mind, but I just did anyway, just because. So he came up with this chassis system, and with these are already, you know, printed that way, inlaid. And there was, when there was no components, right here, just a little slot. You can just feed these in from the inside. Wires come right in there, and he made this little interlocking piece. So there's a 22 mil speaker in there. Couldn't really go any bigger with all this. So this interlocks onto this, holds this, but it's vented for sound. You know, what can I say? Very clever, fantastic, easy solution. Removable battery setup. The only really modification I made was to add a little bit of electrical tape in there, just because this battery slot was just a speck loose. And I also added a battery wrap, which also helps with that. So it just fits right in there.
I'm Cal Kestis.
So I do have gesture ignition enabled just for testing. You don't want to have to like slide this in and out of the Saber every time you want to test the board. So that works fantastically well. I love this whole thing. And yeah, I'll put it in the handle section here. Now you have to decide which, like, kind of where you want the LEDs to shine out the side, since they're only on the sides. So I kind of, on the chassis, with some red Sharpie, you can barely see it, it's right there. And so that's my top. So this whole thing I can't do this around the camera, there we go. This little thing just kind of slides in there like that, just that much sticks out. Oops, yeah, again, I cannot see, there we go. I did put an O-ring right here. It's not really super noticeable, but I put that there because I didn't want to just completely smash the pins into each other. I just need to make contact. So I just wanted to stand them off just a little bit. I don't want to, you know, just over tighten this thing and grind it all down. I've got to figure out how to, the only problem I'm having, and I'll figure out something, is once the chassis is in there, this fits so well that as I'm turning this to lock it in place, the chassis is turning slightly and not lining up my slices here. So I'm gonna have to like key it somehow. I'll figure that out. I'm sure there's a way that I can just make a little key slot or something that just keeps it stationary where I want it. I wouldn't call that a huge issue. I'll figure it out. Something. Oops. There we go. So that was the theory, is to be able to see light out of everywhere possible. I'll probably go through as well and diffuse these lights a little bit so it's more of a glow and not quite so bright. Started in mute here so I can still talk. But all of these presets are basically the same as the blade. It's got that FET 263's Fallen Order sort of unstable flickering. So everything is going to do that. Yeah, no real shine through. Well, a speck of shine through in the fiber optic there, but yeah, that was just a different idea. It would have been cool though. So yeah, those are, you can definitely see hot spots. So I'll see if there's enough wiggle room in this to diffuse it with something. I'll probably diffuse it on the handle itself, so no matter where where it ends up, it'll just have that layer in there. But I think this turned out really well.
Young Ray.
I only put the second font on there just for testing, just to make sure that all my colors and everything were working. But it's fun to see all the colors popping through the all the holes and windows and stuff. It's pretty crazy. So, mission accomplished on that.
Diagnostics.
I'm Cal Kestis.
So well done on that, and another huge thank you to Steven from Powell's Powerups, because I don't 3D print, I don't 3D model things, I don't just stuff I've never got into. Pretty much just an installer, but I do appreciate a well-made chassis, that's for sure. And so I appreciate him for that, and how quickly he was able to come up with it and work with me, what I was looking for the shine through and all the stuff. So big thanks to him. Other than that, yeah, we had to run a 22 mil speaker just because of the wall thicknesses and some stuff on the chassis. It just was a wiser choice, which I don't care, it's fine. 22 is more than enough. The only thing that I can complain about this Saber, and it's not even this itself, is it doesn't fit in my display case. It's too long, so it has to sit kind of by itself on a shelf, rhymed, kind of diagonally like that. It won't sit in there sideways with all my other stuff, but I'll figure it out. I know there's a bunch of versions of this out here now with the other half of this, and sort of repaired version with a kind of a modified D-ring on the end, but this is the version I think is the coolest. Just looks like it's been through Order 66, really, you know what I mean? So it's very good. Turned out great. The only other thing I could mention is I tried out a new product on the end here. See if I can find it real quick. This Dirty Down Rust paint. It's acrylic, so it's water-based. You can just paint it right on there. There is a mixing ball in there, so you shake it for a little while before the ball bearing releases. You have to shake the crap out of this stuff, but yeah, I mean, I've done rust effects with just acrylic paint, but this is a one coat. You just paint it on if you like it, and you just kind of like heavier and lighter in certain areas. Just let it dry, see what happens, and just kind of mash it around. It doesn't need to be beautiful. And the effect is, I mean, it's pretty good. It looks a little different on these two pieces because it was originally this color underneath. So I think on a raw piece, it might pop a little more color-wise. But I don't know, I think I'll try to use it again. I've still got half a bottle at least. I just found it on Amazon. I was watching some reviews on some painting products or whatever, but I found this. If you want to check it out, you know, check it out. It works pretty well. And hey, as always, thank you for watching.